I'm going to do this kind of in an outline form. If you can think of payroll as a process, sometimes we think it's just writing paychecks, and then later on, I got to pay taxes, and then all of a sudden it turns into this big animal, and you don't know where you're at. And if you think of it as a process from start to finish, I think it wraps it up and it makes it a little bit neater. So today, when we go through these, we're going to be talking about how to set up your federal and state payroll tax accounts as an employer. Just talk a little bit about when you do hire an employee. There is new employee paperwork, and if any of you have been employed, you filled that out. As an employer, you want to decide the type of pay. Are you going to pay them hourly or salary? Things like that. You can determine how you're going to track their time, or you can use timesheets, time clocks. We're going to practice calculating gross pay, and we're going to see that gross pay can be very simple, but it can get very complicated in different situations too. We're going to calculate the employee part of the withholding taxes, and then we will calculate down and do their net pay. We're going to show an employee net pay and the pay stub showing what needs to be on a pay stub. We're going to then calculate the employer side of the payroll taxes, and we're going to show how to pay those and how to remit things that the taxes that you have withheld. We're going to practice doing, if you're a monthly depositor, paying your 941 and your state withholding tax, how you do that, and then we'll look at quarterly and annual, how to pay do your 941 forms, your federal unemployment, your state withholding, state unemployment, and then we're actually going to practice preparing quarterly and annual reports and see how that works. And really, it is a process from the time you hire an employee to the time you pay them and provide them with the W-2 at the end of the year. It can be very nice, neatly little package. If you stay on schedule, do your things well. If it gets out of control, it can turn ugly fast. This is just some general information that you have. How many of you are using QuickBooks? Oh, I can tell you how I learned accounting back in the day was on paper ledgers and things like that. But when I took that knowledge into QuickBooks, I'm way better at QuickBooks because I learned accounting. What can happen with payroll is people go into QuickBooks or a program that does that, and they know where to put things and whatever. They don't know what's happening or why. And so learning it on paper we think will be valuable. So you can translate that into, oh, this is why QuickBooks is doing what it's doing, and this is what it means. So on this payroll setup checklist, things that you might want to know, or if you're bringing employees in partway through the year, or you're switching over from paper to QuickBooks, whatever, you need some company information in order to set them up, types of compensations, types of benefits you want to offer, such as health insurance, dental insurance, 401k, vacation to sick. A lot of you may be small businesses, you may not offer benefits, but you may come across that. There's other types of additions and deductions you may provide, cash advances, mileage reimbursements, union dues, and sometimes you may be asked to process wage garnishments. That's for the company. Then on the employee information, for each employee who worked for you this calendar year, you need things. The completed W-4 form and how many have ever been employed and completed one. So you know what I'm talking about. That's the form where you fill out to tell the IRS how you want or you tell your employer how you want the IRS to deduct your withholding taxes. You need to know what you're going to pay your employee, what kind of deductions again, sick and vacation balance if you're coming in mid-year. Are you going to offer direct deposit? You need a hire date and a termination date. In this category for tax information, as an employer, you need to know what your state unemployment rate is, your state agency and your federal ID numbers for forms, and then you have copies of your tax forms and things. Payroll history information, if you're coming in mid-year, you just need to make sure that you have what has happened, because it's in that year it's going to turn into a W-2 at the end. So if you're coming in midstream, which doesn't sound like many of you are, but just make sure that all that information gets into the right calendar year. You have this sheet. These are some web links for payroll tax enrollments. And if you're not a detailed person, I'm really sorry. Part of this is going to be really like, because it's filling out a lot of forms. It's getting yourself set up as an employer with these agencies. So you have this page for your resources, but you have to have an employer identification number. And that is necessary so you can pay your 941 taxes and your annual unemployment taxes. You have to be set up with the state withholding and for sales tax, so you will have a Colorado sales tax and wage withholding. There's an application to fill out, Form CRO 100. And if you want, we can actually look at these and take a look at it and see if you have any questions going over them. You have to be set up with the state unemployment agency. That's also another application. And then a good idea, and actually you need to, is to set up your electronic payment system. So when you go through the federal, it's called EFTPS, and the state is EFT. And what they do is you can either go online or pay, or you can do it by phone where you have set up your bank account and you pay your taxes over the phone. So if you want to take a look real quick at some of these account setup sheets.
How many of you in the room have not set up payroll accounts yet, or will need to?
Okay, did you want to do that on the side? Okay.
I have a question. So, the state told us that we didn't have to set up an account because it's a husband-wife situation and a sole proprietorship. Does that mean at the end of the year that you don't report the W-2 income?
No,
To the state?
what you're saying is correct, because you're the owners, and as an owner, you can elect not to have it,
Mm-hmm.
but when you, as soon as you hire an employee, you're gonna have to have, you know, if you have an independent person from you, you're gonna have to have the state unemployment set up.
Right, but,
And then at the end of the year, when you do your W-2s, no, it's not. On your W-2, the state unemployment isn't even listed there.
that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that there's no state withholding account because they didn't set up the unemployment.
Okay, the state withholding tax and the state unemployment tax are two separate things.
Okay.
The state withholding tax is required, just like your federal withholding tax, your social security and your Medicare. You're a sole proprietor, is that what you're saying?
It's a client.
I'm sorry?
It's a client. They're a sole proprietor
Okay,
and the employee is the wife.
okay. So so there's one owner and then the employee, right? Okay, so the owner, because the sole proprietor doesn't have to run payroll on himself,
Right.
that's for the sole proprietor, but his wife, which is an employee, treated as an employee, you would have to have opened up these accounts.
I disagree.
I disagree
My
too.
husband and I were also, just the two of us for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And because we're spouse, I don't have to pay, I have to pay Social Security if I pay myself.
Right.
And if I don't pay myself, that's fine too, as an employee, and then my husband would be sole proprietor. But I think you have to, as a husband and wife team, the employee who is the wife does not have to pay for unemployment, and they don't have to pay a couple other things.
Now, the state withholding, the federal withholding is always
Yeah.
required.
That's required,
The
yes.
state unemployment you can waive, like we talked about. And, I mean, the Social Security, Medicare, which is part, you have to pay that. But,
Social Security, Medicare,
So you're saying
Yeah.
that the state told them they didn't have to do.
the state unemployment, that would be true, but withholdings, no. You have to have the account, yes, it's income tax, but that, you could also say that you don't want to have anything withheld. Those are two different things.
Right, so they have nothing withheld, so there's no withholding account.
You would have an account, but you file it as zero. There's nothing withheld.
It's not what the state told us.
Hmm.
Okay.